Hey, hi everyone. I am here with a dear friend, Sitora. We met on Instagram. I just saw her posts, I saw her energy, and I'm like, she's my gal. And I think we did astrology session, and you said that I am about to blossom and to create something big and badass and magical. And ta-da, here I am in 2 years, pouring my heart and my soul in this new course, Irresistible Woman. And I'm inviting you as a guest. I'm inviting you as the super powerful medicine shaman woman, because to me, you is a full embodiment of the irresistible woman, a woman who has access to her sexuality, a woman who has access to her vulnerability, a woman who constantly, every day, making such responsible choices for herself. And the way you carry yourself is, I don't know, it's a form of like legacy, it's like you from the future looking at yourself. And I think it's so important to have this presence and energy part of this journey. And I am excited to ask you to do the most magical, and I feel like the most important role to setting up and making the container even stronger is the rituals, setting up intentions, initiation, and those practices. And I would like you to share a little bit about yourself and the magic that you bring and your gifts.
Hi, everyone. My name is Satora, and I'm a friend of Maya's, and we have met through Instagram. And since then, we have been both on this beautiful journey of working together and in parallel, and then keeping in touch and seeing how each of us are blossoming. I am an astrologer, an herbalist, and a medicine woman. I facilitate spiritual ceremonies, shamanic ceremonies, and it has been a journey indeed. Um, and I always offer myself in the ways that I know I definitely, without a doubt, can. If I have any doubt, I'm like, you know what, I have a few more lessons. But in this, when you reached out to me, Maya, I was like, yes, I was feeling a big yes, because Irresistible Woman. I mean, I can really relate. And this is without any ego or any sort of self-boasting, where I can say that I am irresistible because I literally have to experience it on a daily basis. And I literally have to create boundaries to navigate that in a good way. But it was a journey getting there in a good way. So I have a very big past of coming from a Muslim background, coming from a very controversial, strict family, and then ending up in abusive, toxic relationships where I totally gave my power away as a woman, because that's what I was raised to do, programmed to do as the women in my culture. We're bred to be the perfect wife, the good girl, all of that. Serve our husbands. That's literally what we're raised to do. And so I knew how to do that well. And of course, that is also, to a lot of men, irresistible, right? And a lot of men will be drawn to that because they can see where they can feed off of energy and they can feel it. Somebody who's going to mother them, who's going to take care of them, who's going to take all their crap. And I was that woman until I felt the life force out of me being sucked out, until I felt my soul and spirit shriveling and dying because I was completely giving myself and being abused on top of that. So it took years and years of choosing myself in so many of the different layers and levels that comes on a daily basis, rather than worrying about making sure everyone has breakfast. Sit in my room and meditate and take that time to come into my own center, pray and make affirmations for myself, and then be ready to venture out and do what I need to do. It was a lot of deprogramming that really brought me to where I am today, to still to be an irresistible woman, but also to be an empowered woman, a sovereign, irresistible woman. There is a big difference between irresistible woman and sovereign irresistible woman, or empowered irresistible woman, where you know your power, you know your boundaries,
Mhm.
and that makes you even more irresistible than just this maiden who is beautiful, pretty on the outside, and maybe like
Broken on the inside. Yeah. And that's exactly how I call the Irresistible Woman, that it's the sovereign feminine reclamation, a journey from a good girl to sensual goddess, and peeling layers of this good girlness, right, that are showing up in so many disempowered choices that we're making for ourselves. And I want to highlight that there's a lot of, right, we love empowerment. We love this word. I think every, women's coach is like empowerment coach. But what is truly empowerment? It's not a technique, it's not a knowledge, it's not a book. And empowerment also, it's not how resilient and strong you are, because there's another point, right, in our society is fuck the man, or I don't need a man, or I can provide everything for myself, or I'm gonna fight with men for all type of equality and all of that stuff, right? And being strong, it's not same as being empowered. Being empowered, it's allowing yourself to be weak when it's needed. It's allowing yourself to have your collapse moment. It's allowing yourself to be vulnerable with yourself. It's allowing yourself to ask for help, but it's also being able to say no and not feel guilty about it. It's knowing your boundaries and knowing your gifts and kind of like, right, like the genius within you, and not selling it short, not falling into people pleaser standards, right? So to be truly empowered, it's embracing your whole humanity and your whole womanhood.
100% agree. 100% agree. And I can relate to my current relationship, where I can say that this is the first relationship where I know myself so much that I don't tolerate the tiniest bit of
Disrespect or
and disrespect. Yes. I know myself and I lay it out all out there. This is who I am. I have my days. I have my moments. When I'm on my moon cycle, it can be a Pandora's box. I may not want to talk to you at all, or I may be very talkative, and you either take that or you leave it. I lay it out, and I have no expectations. I give it with my love. I give it with compassion, but I'm also very aware that I am in love with myself first and foremost. I am that soulmate that I have before been looking for in someone else, and I have found myself. And so whoever is going to want to be with that is going to have to acknowledge and accept that.
And how is your partner reacting to this? Because for some women, they might listen to this and be like, oh my God, I can't say this. He's going to get upset or he's going to leave me. And in reality,
so I'm just going to say my partner is younger than me, and he's very handsome, and he's a former medical student, and he's incredibly intelligent, and he's actually Russian too. But so he's coming from that perspective, with some conditioning, with some programming. We know about that, and it's an interesting dynamic because I know how much work there's to do, but I lay it all out, and he does not want to leave at all. Instead, what he's doing is every time we hit this moment of shadow work where things come up and I'm like, well, this is how it is. I lay it all out without judgment, and he processes it. He starts actually doing the shadow work. He actually agrees. I told him, I said, you have to realize who you're with. I'm a woman that knows herself, and the path that I walk is a path of consistent alchemy. My life is alchemy, consistent transformation. Mm-hmm. And being with me, you are by default agreeing to that life as well. I will not stop growing, and that means you cannot stop growing. And so it's hard for him. There are days where we take space and we don't talk, but he always comes back and says, no, I'm here and I'm going to do this work.
Yeah. And that's a true relationship, right? It's not that we're getting to a destination where everything is in pink flowers. It's a constant evolution and constant work, and you just bettering yourself and you becoming a better person and a better partner every time. And these dynamics, they very fiery. So resistance and sometimes, right, like the moment of I don't know, expression of frustration or anger, it is actually what also creates the chemistry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what gives the friction. That's exactly what it is. A good relationship is a relationship that is able to grow and transform together. If you're stagnant and just like surface level and just like being a status quo, that relationship is gonna explode sooner or later.
Mhm.
It's gonna decay. But if you're openly communicating and processing and integrating your shadows, knowing that all of these ancient programs and conditions are going to come out, you're aware, you're there doing the shadow work, that relationship has so much potential for growth.
And reward, who knows what reward is coming, right? The more growth, the more work you do. Yeah, sky is the limit.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit more about your shaman work and especially understanding of, right, like setting up the container, setting up the intention, committing to yourself or committing to the practices, that it's not, right, like it's not a mental process.
Yeah. So the shamanic path is pretty much a devotion, commitment to your self work, to your inner work, to your self healing. That is number one priority. So, my daily practice with myself, my meditation, my yoga, my daily conscious living is my devotion to spirit in all aspects. And that is whether I'm in ceremony, whether I'm not, the work never stops. And it's just a matter of being aware that everything is spirit, that everything has a spirit. So you approach everything with respect and with consciousness. When you're opening sacred space for ceremony where other people are going to be joining you in a circle, being aware as a shaman, as a person who holds space for others, you're already aware of spirit in everything. And so with everything, you have a communication. You have a communication with air, you have a communication with earth, you have a communication with fire, with water, with all the elements of nature, and with everyone's higher self and soul. And so when you're opening a ceremony, you have to mark that. You have to open that portal where you're inviting in ancestors, you're inviting spirit to do this transformative work within every being that's there. And that ripples out to others as well. But that's the process of really opening a safe space. You pray in a good way with love in your heart for all of the beings that walk the land before, the ones that will come after, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom. You are just really aware of the interconnectedness of everything, and you have to acknowledge everything and connect with everything so that you open a safe container, because everything is energy and we're all connected. And when you can really communicate with the unseen and the seen in a good way, with love and compassion, respectfully asking permission to open a healing space, you're going to see the magic really happen.
Yeah, it's like we need to send the calling, right? The famous quote, right, from the Bible, that ask and you shall receive. And we sometimes forget that even setting up an intention, it's also asking for the resources and help and our inner energy to show up and support us in that.
Yeah, intention. When I'm getting ready to facilitate a ceremony, the first process is intention, that I ask from everyone to work on their intention. And that's important because it gives you a direction. You know, when you're opening up portals into the astral realm or other dimensions, there's so many things that you could do, that where you can explore, that could take you. But when you take an intention, when you set an intention, you are showing that you are present with yourself, where you are and what you need, and then the universe will respond to that, or spirit will respond to that intention and work with you.
And I also would like to touch the topic of initiation, right? Before, I don't know, our ancestors, they had initiation for men and they had initiation for women, right? It was a particular way that you kind of like completing your childhood and you stepping into adulthood. Right now we think about getting driver license, right, is a way of becoming an adult, and it is not enough. Can you share a little bit more about the ritual of initiation?
Yeah, that is so important. That is one major thing that is missing in our modern culture, and we're bringing it back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to say that the people that I work with, such as Kaleem, also, we're bringing these ancient ways of initiating young men and women into the different stages of their lives. For women, when they first experience their moon cycle, marking that, and initiation is infinite. It can be, you can create it, it's very unique, but the whole process of it is to connect with spirit, connect with the heart of the person initiating, and connect them with the community that is also welcoming them into that phase of their life. And the ritual that you create is really up to the tradition and to the people, but it's really important. And for boys, because they don't have quite a clear mark of when they're going into manhood as women do, there's usually a time around 12. 12 is, by most ancient cultures, is when you complete a certain cycle, when you become 12 years old. Every 12 years is a certain cycle completion. And so the first 12 years, and that's when young boys become teenagers and come into manhood. They have their own initiate. You can go into the wilderness and really learn how to, chop wood and start your own fire. And then the men come around and they welcome you into manhood. And just marking this time for both the young woman, the young man, is really important and solidifies their presence within themselves, their purpose here, that they have community, that they have support, and that they are ready to take on the next stage of their life.
And I think that one of the important things is the highlight of presence of the community. It's like being witnessed.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you're doing by yourself in your room. There is a power of being witness in your prayer or in your dedication, right? And I really love that you said that it doesn't have to be just a particular milestone, right? It can be, I'm completing this cycle in my life and I'm ready to open a new one, which is exactly what I have. The idea for the course for us, for our closing ceremony, is actually to be initiation, where you would step in into a circle that you create in your room and would say a particular prayer where you promise to yourself to carry this irresistible woman and be, right, like listen to her more than to any other parts of yourself.
Yeah.
What would you think will be the objects for this practices? Candles, crystals, flowers?
Really, anything that resonates with the initiate, them bringing in the sacred items that they work with, and also the person doing the initiation or the community to bring in all of their sacred items. And this includes all of that. We know they all hold energy. Candle brings in the spirit of fire, and Holy Spirit, and crystals bring in the energy of the earth, flowers, divine feminine. And so depending on what initiation it is, I see all of these, sacred items being present.
Beautiful. Yeah, when we'll provide more details and more information closer to the experience. Thank you so much, Satora. It was such a joy and pleasure to connect with you and to have you as a honored guest teacher. And I cannot wait to dive into this journey with you and co-create magic.
Thank you, Maya. It's always a pleasure to connect with you. And thank you for creating this beautiful course and journey for the collective. It's, I looked at it, it's amazing and it's really important. It's really important at this time.
Thank you.